我们讲过了，综合圣经的教训，孝敬父母之道有以下的途径。
And we already have been talking about to comprehend the Bible's teaching on honoring your father and mother. Then the following ways, the ways of doing it.
第一点呢，就是存体谅之心。
First is to bear an understanding heart.
你们还记得吗？前一次我们结束的时候，我放给你们看一个短片。
Did you remember the short clip that I showed you?
就是一个老人家，他一直问他的孩子说：“那是什么？”
And that is the old man asking the son, "What is that?"
他的孩子给他问了好几次以后，不耐烦了，就发起脾气。
So the son got impatient after he asked the same thing a few times.
那么那一次，我们的重要的是讲到我们要体谅父母亲年纪老了会忘记。
And that is to show that because our parents have grown old, they might forget, so we have to be understanding.
但是那一个短片里面呢，其实呢含有另外一个很重要的元素。
Actually, that clip also entail another message.
就是那位老人家把一本记事簿或者他日记给他的孩子看。
And that is, he took out his diary.
那么他的那边记着是什么呢？他说他的孩子小的时候，也曾经一直问了21次，那是什么？
And in the diary, the old man wrote down in the years before that the same child, when he was young, he asked the parent, the father, 21 times, "What is that?"
当然，老人家说，他每一次都是非常兴奋、非常高兴的告诉他，那是只麻雀。
And then the father would say that every time he would be excited and be glad to tell him that that is a sparrow.
所以那个短片里面其实也告诉我们，这个小孩子忘记或者因为他小嘛他不记得他爸爸怎么样对待他。
And then that showed that the child, when he was young, that he actually forgot how he was treated by the father.
所以上一次我前面所讲的，就是说我们要体谅老人家会忘记。
So at the beginning, I said that we have to have an understanding heart that the older parents, they may forget.
他们有很多软弱。
They have a lot of weakness.
他们有很多限制。
And the limitation.
我们要体谅他。
Then we have to have an understanding heart toward them.
但另外一方面，我们不要忘记他们对我们做过的事情。
And the other point is that we should not forget what they had done for us before.
所以今天我们接下去的第二点呢，就是说我们对我们的长辈要存感恩的心。
So our next point is to bear a thankful heart.
那么今天我们的经训里面说，要在主里听从父母。接下去说，我们要在主里面怎么样？要孝敬父母。
In our golden verse today, that we have to be obedient to the parents, and then we have to honor our parents.
那么中文的孝敬在原文呢，英文是说 honor。
中文的孝敬 in English, they wrote honor.
就是在原文希腊文里面呢，这个 honor 呢包含着评价的意思。
And in the original, the honor word contains the meaning of evaluation.
就是说我们要算。
That means that we have to calculate.
我们要思想。
We have to ponder.
我们的父母、我们的长辈在我们身上所做的事情。
Our seniors and our parents, what they have done in our past.
其实几乎每个小孩子，他们都享受过父母的爱。
And I think that almost all children have enjoyed the love from the parents when they were young.
他们也知道这个爱很好。
And they knew that that was good.
但是随着年纪的增长，他们会渐渐的就忽略了。
But we may forget as we grow older.
哎呀，我这样想，这个忘记不是单单老年人才会忘记。
And forgetfulness is not only happen to seniors.
小孩子会忘记，
Little children also
青
forget.
年人会忘记，
And young people also
壮
forget.
年人会忘记。
And even young adults, they also forget.
所以这个忘记可以说是人类的一个通病，
So everybody forgets.
不是只有忘记一些简单的事情哦，
Not only that being forgetful,
可能是在人生当中的很重要的事情。
we may forget something that important that happened to us.
照理来讲是不能够忘记的，
Logically, we should remember it.
但是人却是忘记。
And yet, human beings just like to forget.
你想想，以色列人被神借着摩西从为奴之地带出来，
Now, for the Israelites, they were taken out from the land of slaves.
这是小事吗？
Now, is that a small thing?
不，
It's not.
他们不再受鞭打，
They were not beaten again,
他们不再受苦待了，
and they were not mistreated,
他们也不再提心吊胆，他们的孩子会被杀死。
and they do not need to worry that the child will be killed.
可以说，他们的人生是一个很大的转变啊！
So I think it's a great turnabout.
这个难道小事？
So is that something small?
这是大事啊！
No, I think it's a major.
好了，他们经过红海的时候，
And when they passed through the Red Sea,
后面有追兵，
there were soldiers running
前面
out,
有红海，
and then in front was the Red Sea,
两旁有高山阻挡，
and then on the side were high mountains.
真是走投无路了。
So that is, you're going toward the end of the road.
就在这时候，神借着摩西把他们带领过了红海。
And at that time, God brought Moses to bring them through the
这
Red
是
Sea.
空前的大事啊！
So it is something that never happened before.
但是以色列人过了红海以后，
But after they passed,
他们忘记了。
then they forgot.
当然，我说的忘记不是忘记这个事情，而是忘记整个事情所包含的神的能力、神的慈爱。
It's not that they forget the event that happened, but then they forgot what it brings about God's mercy and His power.
所以他们过了红海之后，一没有东西吃了，一有困难了，又埋怨神了。
So after they passed the Red Sea, when they were without food, then they start complaining.
所以神不是在圣经里说吗？神说：“我40年，你们在旷野，你们竟忘记，你们不懂得我的作为啊！”
So God said that we were in the wilderness for 40 years, and then you forgot what I provided you.
所以从这些事情，我们可以发现，你我所有的人都有忘记的通病。
So through this, you can see that you and me and everyone, it's easy for us to forget something.
当然程度上有分别。
Of course, it's a different degree.
我们在座当中，有的人也很会记得神的恩典。
And there are some that it's very keen on remembering how God had done for us.
我们当中也有许多人也会懂得记得父母亲的恩典。
And then a lot of us also remember the blessing from our parents.
不过我们要知道，忘记是人的通病，所以我们要提醒自己，一直要学习，不可以忘记。
But I brought it up just because it is common for us to forget. So we need to make some effort to remember.
我想呢，这个忘记其中一个原因就是习以常。
And I think one of the reasons that we may forget is because we take things for granted.
早上起来了有阳光，
When we rise, get up, then there's the sun right there.
有空气，
And the air is for us to breathe.
每天都是这样，
And every day is the same.
所以我们人就很容易忘记。
So it's easy for us to be forgetful.
所以我们中国人说嘛，身在福中不知福啊，
And it's like we do not know what a blessing that we're in.
这是应该的嘛。
It's something as if it should happen.
所以缺少感恩心，
So we gradually lack a thankful heart.
不但缺少感恩啊，
Not only we lack being thankful,
还会觉得人亏欠。
and also we start to think that they owe us.
有一个人很有爱心，
One person had a loving heart.
他每天上班的时候经过天桥，看见天桥底下有个乞丐，
And then he saw a beggar every morning that he passed by.
所以每一次他就给他1块钱。
So every morning he would give him $1.
对他来讲没有什么。
Well, $1 really is nothing to him.
当然，这个乞丐也是谢谢。
And so the beggar was also thanking him every
好，
time.
有一次他出差了，
And then one time he was out of town
1个礼拜，
for a week.
好了，回来了，
And then afterwards he came back.
他要上班了，
And then he started going to work in the morning
他经
again.
过天桥了，
Then when he passed by the same
他
spot,
照样拿1块钱给那个人，
and he gave him $1 as
他
usual.
就走开了。
And then he passed on.
那个乞丐说：“哎，先生，慢走，慢走，停下来，停下来，
And then the beggar said, wait, hold on.
你欠我6块，
You owe me $6.
我哪里有欠你钱？
He said, starting from when did I owe you money?
你上个礼拜没有给我。”
That you didn't give me anything last week.
哎，我没听过。对呀，他6天没有给他嘛，欠6块。
Yeah, that's correct. He wasn't there 6 days, so he owed him $6.
所以从数学上来讲，
So from math,
这个乞丐讲对。
that the beggar was right.
从刚才是从数学哈，那么从习惯来讲，
From habit,
他乞丐也讲的对。
and the beggar was also right.
从常理来讲，
From regularity,
这乞丐也讲的对，
then the beggar was also right.
是吧？每天都1块，每天1块，那6天没有1块，不是欠6块吗？
So because his every day is $1, so if he missed 6 days, that is $6.
我告诉你，可能到现在我们想，对呀，对嘛，他就欠他。
And I think that's correct, that he did owe him $6.
其实呢，正确的说法应该说，他呢，在他度假期间呢，他没有拿到6块。
But actually, that when he was out of town, he did not receive $6,
或者他的收入少了6块。
or his income was less 6.
但是用这个欠字呢，就欠妥了。
But if you use the word owe,
因为这个人根本就没有欠他什么，
because this person never owed him anything.
但是我还是转不过来，明明是欠嘛。
But sometimes you may get stuck with it. Yeah, he did owe him.
所以呢，就是这习惯，他习以为常，应该习惯就变成当然了。
So this is something like a build up as a habit, and then you took it for granted as if something that should happen.
这就是一个这个通病啊。当一个人感恩心减少的话呢，他的孝心呢就会逐渐的减少。
So once a grateful heart is lessened, then the filial piety also will decrease.
那么孝心一减少呢，就不耐烦了，所以呢，这个就很容易发生不愉快的事。
So once your filial piety decrease, then you start to be a little bit more impatient, then unpleasant things start to happen.
你知道吗？现在我们不是常常说吗？我们要训练小孩子。
Often now we say that we need to train the children.
为了鼓励小孩子，有时候我们也会，他做一点事情，我们给他一些奖励，对不对？
So in order to reward them, train them, that we will reward them.
所以在这种大环境之下，
So under such,
所以小孩子做家务呢，也是常常有期待要拿一点的钱。
so when the children do chores, then they kind of starting to have that expectation that they will be rewarded.
所以当个小孩子，母亲叫他做这个做那个，好，他就做了。
So when the mother asked the child to do this and that, then the child did it.
但是他就为什么他妈妈没有给他钱呢？
But then he was waiting. How come the mom is not giving me any money this time?
所以他就决定，我就列个清单。
So he decided to list it out.
我为妈妈洗碗，
I did dishes.
多少块？
How much?
我扫地，
I sweep the floor.
多少块？
How much?
我晚上睡觉以前去看看门窗有没有关。
I check all the doors and windows before I sleep.
多少天？每天多少块？
So how many days I've been doing that, and then that amount to how much?
总结
Then the total
过去1个礼拜
for the last week.
20块，
So $20.
就放在妈妈的床头边，
And so he put that paper at the bedside of the mom.
让妈妈醒悟，她欠了我多少钱。
So maybe mom can remember actually how much he owes me.
后来当妈妈看了，
Well, the mom looked at it.
妈妈就写了个单，
Then the mom wrote,
生你的时候进医院，
well, in the labor room in the hospital,
除去保险费 cover 以外，我付了多少？
besides the insurance was covered, I paid so much.
尿布用多少？
Diaper, so much.
总结
Then total,
全面。
or 全面 free.
然后他孩子看到妈妈床头张纸，很高兴，看一下大概多少。哦，那个小孩子第二天看到妈妈床边有张纸了，就看看他妈妈要给他多少。
Oh, so the next day when he saw the paper on his bed, then he said, "Oh, let's see how much mom is going to give me."
来看了以后，
But then after he looked at the paper,
没有话讲，
so he was wordless
很惭愧呀、
and felt ashamed.
哎，我告诉你，这个孩子虽然开始一段时间不大好，但是呢，他懂得脸红啊，有前途。这个孩子，
So this child, he was kind of ashamed and embarrassed. So it's still better than no regrets.
他有前途
He，has a future.
明白吗？人有这个通病，
So all humans have this common weakness.
但是当他被提醒的时候，
But once we are reminded,
他会进入啊。
then they start to repent.
不久前我看到一篇文章，
I read an article not too long ago.
他讲到现在的小孩子是怎么样的，
They talk about what kind of children these days are
向
like.
父母亲要求什么，要求什么。
They ask for the parents, from the parents, this and that.
那个父母亲如果有的是像这个母亲一样，就告诉他，那我为你做这个，为你做这个，那多少钱呢？
Then some parents is just like the one that I mentioned, and they would respond like, "Well, I did this for you, and I did that for you. Then how much did that amount to?"
这个小孩子被提醒以后，他不会脸红的，
But this child wasn't embarrassed,
他还气得半死，他妈你就不讲理的，
and then he was even angry and upset and saying that, "Mom, you're being irrational.
哪有这个理由的？
How come there's no such rationale as this?
你帮助我，你养我是应该的嘛。
When you help me and you bring me up, it's something that you should do."
所以他认为是应该的嘛，爸爸妈妈给我是应该的。
So it is their responsibility for them to give.
他还会搞理论呢，这是天职啊，
So that he even say that this is what
上天给你的责任啊，
this is what the heaven appointed you
讲
to
得
do.
头头是道，
So that's he's full of logic.
没有一个感恩的心，
So lack of a appreciation.
所以常常觉得父母亲亏欠。
So that we often think that our parents owe us.
如果在这里站10分钟，
Now, if I'm standing here for 10 minutes,
我会觉得疲倦吗？
so would I feel tired?
应该不会。
Oh, I don't think so.
如果我这样呢，
But if I raise my hand
10分钟，
10 minutes,
我会疲倦吗？
would I feel tired?
会，
Yes, I think so.
这样就不疲倦，
Well, when my hand down, it's not tiring.
这样呢就疲倦。
But raising the arm would be tiring.
所以福建话有，我不知道广东人啊，其他人这样有，我知道我妈妈常会提起这一句，她说什么？疼下的顺势，就是你爱下面爱小辈呢就很顺，很顺嘛。
So that's what my mom often say is, it is a natural for love to flow downwards.
是吧？父母亲爱小孩子，就是这样是没有埋怨。
It's like the vine, they always hang down. So it's natural for parents to love the child.
小孩子为妈妈做好事，做一些事情就是这样。
So if for the children to be doing a favor for the parents, it's just like raising the arm.
的的确确会疲倦。
Then it takes just a little while, and then you get tired.
对吧？所以我们要记得这个比喻啊，这个例子。
So we have to remember this illustration.
父母给我们的太多太多，
Yeah, parents gave us too much.
所以我们很会觉得父母还亏欠我们。
So that often brings about thinking that our parents owe us.
还有个小孩子呢，他们现在小孩子啊，很注重 privacy， 是不是？
And now children, they make a point about privacy.
你知道吗？在美国长大的孩子啊，
And you know that the children that grew up from U.S.
你栽培他，他去上大学，大学毕业了去上班。
You pay for their tuition, you bring them up, and they graduate from college, and then they start to work.
他找工作了，
And they start working,
拿薪水了，
and then they start to have a salary.
你连问他薪水多少都要很小心哦。
And you have to watch out if you want to ask them how much they earn.
他会告诉你，
Then they would tell you.
妈，这是 privacy，
They would tell you this is privacy.
这是我的隐私啊。
It's a privacy matter.
妈，记得啊，在美国千万不可以问人家薪水多少。
So mom, you have to remember, don't ever ask people how much you earn.
但我是你的妈，
But I'm your mom.
一样，
The same thing.
明白吗？
So do you remember?
所以有个小孩子
So there's a child.
很注重隐私权，
So he was emphasized greatly on privacy.
他会在门口贴了一张纸，
And then he put a note in front of the door.
进入者需写下理由，
He said, you write down the reason for your entry.
不可以随便进来。
You cannot just come in any time.
他母亲就写下来。
Then the mom wrote,
昨天晚上11点下大雨，
it rained hard last night at 11 p.m.
进来为你盖被。
And I came in to cover you more.
母字这个母亲写的。
So she wrote mom.
哎，这个小孩子一看，
So the child looked at the note,
脸红了，
and then he felt ashamed.
有前途啊！
So he had a future.
因为他被妈妈一点了，他就醒了。
So he came around after you kind of point out the point. You
从
made
此
a point.
从此没有在那个
So
在
he,
告诉
from
你
then on, he no longer post any note.
爸爸妈妈关心你，问你，
So when your parents is concerned about you and care about you and ask about how you're doing,
哪里是侵犯你的什么隐私啊？
so why would that be a privacy issue?
问你薪水多少，
To ask you how much you are making,
也不是要抽税，
and it's not for tax purposes.
也抽哪一天对呀、对，
哦
不是自己要抽税，只是要看看你的生活过得好吗？够吗？
It's not asking really for you to give any money to the parents. It's just a way of concern of are you making it through?
那如果你不够，你的开支不够平衡，也许爸爸妈妈还要津贴一点呢。
And maybe if you're not making enough for spending, maybe we could even give you some.
你把爸爸妈妈的爱心看成他侵犯你的隐私权，那不是很伤父母心吗？
So if you look at their love and concern as an issue of privacy, then you may have hurt the parents.
所以弟兄姊妹啊，
So brothers and sisters,
青年人、少年人要这边很少少年人啊，这个少年人要听。
so young people, you have to kind of take note.
智力当然是好，
So it is good for you to be independent.
但是到个程度，不要父母亲的意见，不要父母亲的关怀劝告，那就太过分。
But then if you be too independent to such an extent that you do not need your parents' advice, then you may have to watch out a little.
你知道吗？在美国做父母不容易啊。
So it is not an easy job to be parents.
我知道有个父母呢，他鼓励的孩子去赚钱派报纸。
Some parents encourage the children to pass out newspaper in the morning to earn some money.
如果孩子没有脚踏车，
And if the children do not have bicycles,
爸爸妈妈的脚踏车让他用啊。
then they may lend their own bicycle for them to use.
如果有时候天太晚什么，有时候爸爸妈妈还在后面跟着看他安不安全啊。
And if it's too dark, then the parents will be following them afar.
但是呢，少年人呢，拿到钱以后，认为这个全部是他赚。
But then after they earn the money, they think that they earn the whole thing.
他们忘记，他们赚钱用的脚踏车还是父母的。
They forgot that they were using the parents' bike.
当然，父母亲不会跟他计较要扣多少租金，不会的。
Then of course the parents won't be taking any money out for rental.
是，你赚，你钱都拿去吧。
Yes, you earn it all, so you can have everything.
但是小孩子心中应该感谢，说虽然是我赚的，但是我去赚那个钱的本钱还是来自父母。
Well, even though that I made all the profit, but then the principal it still came from the parents.
当你能够这样数算的时候，
If you can think like that,
那么你就对父母亲会更加懂得感恩。
then you will be more appreciative.
所以《申命记》8章17节就是摩西吩咐以色列人的。
So in Deuteronomy 8:17, Moses said,
他说神有这样的吩咐
it says that God said,
就说恐怕你们将来顺利了。OK， 你们会说，乐化才是我的力量，我的能力得来的。
the child may say that, you may say in your heart, my power and strength of my hand made me this wealth.
就是说，怕以色列人将来他顺利了，将来发达，他们就以为全部是自己的劳力、自己的功劳的。
So God was saying this, afraid that the Israelite might think that when they became successful later on, that they would think that it is their power and the strength that made this wealth.
所以你们要纪念耶和华你的上帝。
So you shall remember the Lord your God.
因为得获财的力量是他给你的。
For it is He who is giving you power to make wealth.
当然，这是对神的态度。
Of course, this is showing our attitude toward God.
但是也应用在我们对长辈。
But we can also apply this for our parents.
今天我们能有成就，
Today, that we could be who we are today.
我们去赚的钱，我们达到成就的那个本钱，很多还是来自父母。
The principle that we can link to the wealth that we made actually came from our parents.
圣经里知道我们人这个弱点，所以圣经里呢，知道，特别是末世，这个有个趋势，就是违背父母，忘恩负义，没有亲情。
And the Bible reminds us that there's a trend in the last days that this is disobedience to the parents, and there's ungratefulness, a lack of love.
你上次我讲过吗？我说我们教导小孩子爱神奉献，其实也是间接的教导孩子要孝敬父母。
I mentioned before that when we teach our children how to give to God or in offering, actually it's a way of teaching them to be pious.
我们告诉孩子说，上帝没有缺少什么。
We tell our children that God does not lack in anything.
但是他给我们很多，
But He has given us a lot.
我们要表达我们的爱心，
And in order to show our love,
不是等到上帝缺， 缺少了才给他，
It's not that wait till God lacks something before we give,
而是表达我们的感恩心。
but it is a way to show of our gratefulness.
那么你这样教导孩子尊敬神，
So when you teach your children like so to revere God,
而孩子聪明，他会想，诶，那父母也是一样啊，我不需要等到父母没有钱用再给他。
so the children may also apply such and say that we don't need to wait till our parents are lack of something before we give to our parents.
我们给是表达我们的心嘛。
And giving is just an act of love.
我知道有些父母亲呢很爱孩子，
And I know that a lot of parents love their children
爱到一个程度呢，连孩子给他东西他都不要。
to such an extent that when the children want to give them, they don't want it.
我们不需要钱了，你不要给我了。
We don't need money. You don't need to give it to
你们还
us.
有很多东西要用。
You actually have a lot of need.
爱心可嘉，
Yeah, that the love of the parents is great,
请原谅我说，
but excuse me for saying so.
智慧不足啊。
But I think it lacked a little bit of wisdom.
所以如果你的孩子要给你的话，你就收下吧。
So when your children give something to you, then take it.
谢谢他们，感谢他们，
Thank them
称赞他们几句，
and praise them,
拿下来，
and then take it.
明白吧？
So do you understand?
当然，他们有需要的时候，你也看看还可以给他们。
And if they have need, of course, then you can give them.
你只是培养他们有一个孝心。
You just want to cultivate the filial piety.
有一次，几个孩子在那边吃鸡蛋，
A few children were eating eggs.
在美国很少鸡蛋会不新鲜的。
You don't really find not fresh eggs or spoiled eggs in U.S.
但是在我小的时候那个时代，
But the time when I grew up,
有时候鸡蛋会有的东西是不新鲜的。
sometimes the eggs are spoiled.
所以我讲的呢是真的事情嘛，是我那个时代的情况。
So what I'm going to tell you is real, and it happened when I was young.
所以几个孩子在吃鸡蛋，
So the children were eating eggs.
发现一个臭的，
Then there was one they found it
不可以丢，不可以丢。
spoiled, and then they said, "Oh no, don't throw this away."
妈妈喜欢吃臭蛋，
My mom likes to eat rotten eggs.
是不是？他妈妈喜欢吃臭蛋，
So does mom like to eat rotten eggs?
它是公认的知识啊。
Oh, it's a common knowledge.
每
Open
次有
knowledge.
臭的鸡蛋都是妈妈吃。
So every time when you have a spoiled egg, that's for mom.
妈妈还曾经说：“我要，我喜欢。”
Because mom says, "Oh, I want that. I like it."
所以孩子们都认为妈妈最喜欢吃臭蛋。
So all the children, it's open, knowing that mom likes spoiled eggs.
所以好蛋不给妈妈，
So they would not give the good eggs to mom,
臭蛋就给妈妈。
but they give the spoiled rotten egg to the mom.
所以不要告诉孩子你喜欢吃臭蛋。
So don't tell your children you like to eat rotten eggs.
提摩太后书告诉我们，末世有危险的日子来到。
In 2 Timothy it says that in the last days difficult times will come.
这是应用在一般的人际关系，
This is you can apply this in all relationships.
但是有一些原则，有时候会牵连，也会运用在孩子父母的关系。
But you can also apply some of this to a parents and child relationship.
所以，我们当读我们这段圣经的时候，请大家也想到应用在父母、子女身上的话是怎么样。
So when you read the following scriptures, I'd like you to think about applying. How does that apply to parents and child relationship?
因为那时人要专顾自己，
For men will be lovers of self,
狂傲，
arrogant,
违背父母，
disobedient to parents,
忘恩负义，
ungrateful,
无亲情，
unloving,
不检验，
irreconcilable.
妈妈讲了一句话，重点记得很久。
So when the mom was kind of like speaking out some, then you remember that for a long time.
不检验，
Irreconcilable.
自高自大。
Conceited.
那么既然我们有这样的通病，那圣经也给我们有个解药。
So since we're open to those illness, but then the Bible also has given us the antidote.
这个解药是什么呢？
And what is that?
以前我们讲过了，
That we mentioned it before.
今天请大家再一起读一次。
So I'd like you to everyone to say it once.
罗马书13章8节，
Romans 13 chapter 8.
来，凡事都不可亏欠，唯有彼此相爱，要常以为亏欠，因为爱人就完全的律法。
Romans 13:8. Owe nothing to anyone except to love one another, for he who loves his neighbor has fulfilled the law.
这里的文法是这样，你不要欠人，
The grammar here is owe nothing to anyone.
不可以有欠。
Don't owe anything.
但是有一件事情，
But there's one thing.
不是叫我们去欠，而是你要记得，你常常亏欠。
That you have to remember, this is something that you owe.
这个不大容易了解啊。不过意思是说，你要常常记得，你还是有亏欠。
So you have to remember, you have to remember that you are always owing.
我们很会算的，
We are all good mathematicians.
但是呢，因为在我们算的时候，我们有一个自我中心，
But when we do our arithmetic, then the self-centeredness come out.
所以我们一算就算到父母亲对我们的亏欠，
Then we calculate how the parents owe us,
我们就算不到父母亲对我们的恩。
and then we didn't do the math on how much they have given us.
我们也算不到我们亏欠父母多少，
And then we didn't do the math of how much we owe our parents.
所以在自我中心的驱使之下，
So under the self-centeredness,
我们常常觉得父母亲做的不够，
we feel that our parents has not done enough.
我们想到我们，没有想到我们对父母亲的亏欠。
We often think about ourselves, and we do not think about how much we owe our parents.
所以这样的情况下，你怎么会去报恩呢？有什么恩好报？
So in that under the circumstances, we don't really know of anything that we should bless our parents back.
我们想到我们的权利，
We think of our right.
我们没有想到父母亲的权益，
We forget about
他们应该有的。
their benefit, what they should get.
如果我们常借的对父母有亏欠，我们就会更认真的学习孝敬。
If we think often of what we owe to our parents, then we would be diligent to learn how to honor them.
中国人有一句话非常好的，
In Chinese, there's a saying that says,
他说：“滴水之恩，涌泉相报。”
when you receive a favor from someone, and this favor is small as a drop of water, your thank to this small favor should be as big as the spring.
一滴水的恩，你都要好像泉水一样的回报。
You want to return the favor as the spring, even though the favor is just as small as a drop of water.
有的时候，人们的起心是什么呢？
But what do human beings do? People
涌泉之恩 ，reverse，
they reverse it.
很大的恩典，
There are a lot of grace,
滴水不报。
and then you do not return that to as a drop of water.
就是说，你完全没有回报人家。
That means that you did not return the favor at all.
想到什么吗？
Now this picture reminds you of
游子吟啊，
is of a traveler's song.
慈母手中，大家会来都读一下，回味一下，来，慈母手中线， 有子生上帝，灵犀秘密风，一孔持子归，水帘寸长心，报恩上之贵。
The thread in the hands of a fond-hearted mother makes clothes for a wayward boy. Carefully she sews and she mends, threading delays may keep him late from home. But how much love has the inch-long grass for 3 spring months of the light of the sun?
我们怎么报都报不够。
So no matter how we want to return a favor, it will never be enough.
你知道吗？上帝什么伟大？上帝的伟大是伟大到他很谦卑的。
So God's greatness is so great to such an extent that He is humble.
上帝的伟大是伟大到我们为他做一点点事情，他都记得。
That He is so great that He remembers the littlest that we do to Him.
上帝不忘记我们为他的名所做的事情。
The Lord will not forget the things people have done to glorify His
希
name.
伯来书6章4节说：“因为上帝不是不公义的，他不会忘记的。如果不公义的人什么呢？忘记你们所做的功和你们为他的名所显的爱心，就是先前事后圣徒，如今还是事后。”
For God is not unjust so as to forget your work and the love which you have shown toward His name, in giving, if having ministered and still ministering to the saints.
所以你看，上帝多伟大！他也给我们留下一个榜样，上帝不会忘记我们为他做的事情。
So God left us a good example that He will not forget what we have done for Him.
主耶稣道成肉身，也留给我们一个榜样。
And Jesus became man, and He also left us a good example.
他也是顺服孝敬他肉身的母亲，还有养育他的义父。
And He obeyed His biological mother and also His nurturing adoptive father.
你还记得吗？圣经里记载，耶稣12岁的时候，他去圣殿后来他父母亲找到他嘛，后来找到他了。那么玛利亚就说：“孩子啊，你不知道我们到处找你啊。”那耶稣讲一句话以后，圣经说呢，他就同他们下去回去，回到拿撒勒，并且顺从他。
When Jesus was 12, the parents lost him when he was in the temple. And then later, after the mom found him, he said, "You didn't know that we were looking all over for you." And after that, he went down with them and came to Nazareth, and he continued in subjection to them.
耶稣30岁出来工作。
He came out to the ministry when he was 30.
从12岁到30岁这段时间，圣经没有记载耶稣的事情。
Between his 12 and 30 years old, there was no recording in the Bible of the time of that.
圣经只用一节圣经来总括他那一段时期。
They summarized it with one verse.
耶稣的智慧和身量，
That Jesus' wisdom and stature,
并上帝和人喜爱他的心都一起增长。
that Jesus kept increasing in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and men.
上帝喜欢耶稣，
That God loved Jesus
人也喜欢耶稣。
and men also loved Jesus.
换句话说，耶稣的神人关系，当时那时候他做人了神和神的关系，还有人际关系都非常好。
So Jesus was in favor with God and men.
他的父母和他的关系也非常好。
And then he also had a good relation with his parents.
所以提摩太前书5章4节有教导。
So Timothy 5:4 says,
因为那时候教会有一些慈善的事业，基金帮助所以一些穷苦生活的人呢，教会会给他。
So because they were doing some benevolent thing for the people at the church, so.
但是呢，保罗就提下一些指导。
And then Paul was leaving some guidelines.
他说，如果果父有儿女的话，
If any widow has children
或者有孙子孙女的
or
话，
grandchildren,
就教这些小辈呢，在家里学习形象，
They must first learn to practice piety in regard to their own family,
报答亲恩，
and to make some return to the parents.
因为这在主上主面前是可悦纳的。
For this is acceptable in the sight of God.
换句话说，保罗也教导青年人要负起回报，帮助父母。
So Paul was teaching to young people that we should give some return to the parents.
人若不看顾亲属，就是违背真道，比不信的人还不好。
If anyone does not provide for his own, especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an
不
unbeliever.
看顾自己家里的人更是如此。
And it's the same that you do not take care of those of the household.
中国人很讲究孝道。
And Chinese, we emphasize greatly on piety.
那么下面两幅图画就是比较经典的孝道图画。
And these two following are two more classic pictures.
这个就是了，羊羔跪，就是小羊吃奶的时候呢，它是跪着来吃的。
A lamb kneels to suck.
当然，中国人是利用这个现象来提醒小辈要孝敬父母。
And the Chinese use this idea to remind the young people to be
有感恩的心。
and to be grateful.
那么这个是慈屋啊，不是慈鸟啊，慈屋反哺。
And this is that the loving crow coming back to feed.
慈屋呢是乌鸦的一种，那相传呢，他妈妈他的父母老的时候呢，他会出去外面找到东西呢来喂他的父母。
This is a kind of crow that when the parents are older, they would come back and feed them.
哎，我没有翻译那个诗歌啊，他说乌鸦乌鸦对我叫，你可以翻译吗？那个很难哦。Crow， to me OK， 乌鸦真笑，乌鸦老了不能飞，对着小鸭啼。 小鸭朝朝打蛇归，打蛇归就是拿东西回来啊，打蛇归来先喂我啊，母亲从前喂过我啊，这是小孩子的歌啊。
So the song that go with the picture is that when the crow, when the parents grow old, that they would go and look for the feed, then they would come back and feed the parents
First, because
that my mom had fed me before.
所以这是两个中国的经典的这个故事成语啊。
So these are the two classic poems, proverbs.
所以我们有普通启示，又有神圣经特别的启示，双管齐下。如果我们不孝敬父母啊，讲不过去了。
So we have our common general revelation and the supernatural revelation from the Bible. So if we do not honor our parents, then we really cannot have any. We cannot.
箴言10章第1节，所罗门的箴言说什么呢？智慧之子使父亲欢乐，愚昧之子叫母亲担忧。啊，这个父亲母亲就是个实际上，总之就是双亲啊。
The proverb of Solomon: the wise son makes the father glad, but a foolish son is a grief to his mother.
所以，愿主帮助我们做令父母亲不担忧，而且充满欢乐的智慧之子。
So may the Lord help us to be the wise children who will not grieve our parents, but fill them with joy.
这个子呢，也包括女子啊。
So children is
OK， 英文没有分别
son and
啊
daughters.。
好，愿神帮助我们学习啊，大家都要学习。
That all of us is still in the learning process.
愿主赐福。